Hi guys, this is Katja with Creators Image Studio. Today I thought I'd share with you some of my process of altering a wooden box. So I have several here, several sizes, and well, you have the pretty large ones, which are great for gifts, somewhat larger gifts to fill it up with, and you have the somewhat smaller ones and even the tiny ones. I have done an earring version, but you can also fill it up with for instance 1 or 2 bonbons or something sweet. Now the first thing you have to do is paint it. Well, at least that would be my advice. You could use gesso first, but I usually don't bother. I don't have the patience for it to do all these layers of gesso and then with the paint, etc. So I just jot on some paint, and you can do that several ways. You can either paint it in its entirety, or you can paint just part of it like I have with this one, because you will cover it up with paper, so you can do just the edges. But today I am working with this little box here, and it is a sort of a red coppery color of paint. I have already done it and also did the inside. And the first thing that you do, well, I have put them back here, the closures here and the hinges, but of course you would remove them when you paint it, so I thought I'd show you. I just use a small screwdriver, but you could also use the larger ones, but I find that these smaller ones are easy to handle. And there you go. So now you have 2 parts and you can work with it. Now the second thing is you're going to cover it up with paper or with some decoupaging, using the very thin rice papery stuff or the napkins. But today I am using scrapbooking paper. So let's do it with the magic of YouTube. So there we go. Now, if you want to know how exactly I fit the papers onto such a box, check out my free video tutorial that I will leave in the description below for you. So check that out for the techniques. But this day I just wanted to share a different part of my process, and that is more to do with decorating or how to move on once you have reached this stage. You could, of course, just to mention some things that you could do as well, you could stamp, you could emboss, so heat embossing, or you could, before you glue these papers down, emboss them with an embossing folder and add some texture to your paper. You could, of course, do all kinds of mixed media techniques. I'm not a mixed media crafter myself, but if you are, then that is a great way to decorate your box as well. So just to mention those options to you for some inspiration. Now the first thing I'm going to do is add the hinges and the closure back. Okay guys, so now I have fixed all of the screws into the hinges and the closure, but I haven't really screw them down yet because I want to make sure everything fits. And my experience is that if you screw them down tightly, just these pieces for instance, then these won't fit anymore. So it's a bit of a meticulous work. So keep everything flush against each other, make sure everything fits right, and only then screw it down more tightly, and that even then not too tightly. So now I'm going to actually fix everything. Now don't be tempted to screw them too tightly, because everything will fit just like this, but once you open it, and here you can see it stays open, so I have actually done it too tightly, see? And you won't notice that until you open it. So here you see I have to loosen these a bit. So just play around with it and make sure this can still close, of course. But so mine were too tightly, so I'm going to loosen them up somewhat. And there you go. So here now you can see it stays closed. I think it's okay like this. So you saw me do that, right? So play around with the screws and just give them some small turns, open and closed, until you are satisfied, which I am right now. Okay, so now for the decorating. So I gathered some decorations. I don't know if I'm going to use all of them, but gathered some that I thought were fitting. So what I'm going to do here is start at the top. And I'm thinking using a piece of chipboard and some flowers. So now on the top I always like to go lush. So the dimension and the bulk, I like to put that on top of a box and not so much on the side. You could do that, of course. For instance, this flower, you could put that here or here. But personally, this is not really my taste. But if you like it, go for it. I mean, you can go all out on all sides, right? But just make sure that your box can still open. So if you open it up, you can see that here there is almost no room. So you do not put your bulk here or here, right? So just make sure that it is, if you want to use it on the back, only here on the lower end here, the lower edge. So that is something you have to keep in mind, but otherwise you can go do your thing. So I am going to put a piece of chipboard here. Now this is a chipboard sticker, but in my experience, these sticker layers are not particularly strong. I don't really trust them to hold through the years. Maybe they will hold first couple of months, but because it is a gift, I want it to stay longer than just a couple of months. So I am going to add some score tape. So it's a little bit of extra work that I'm doing here, instead of just sticking it on, but I think it's worth it. And I always start with the pieces that go on the bottom, so the bottom layer. I know that my flowers will go sort of on top. So don't start with your flowers, start with the things that go underneath. So let's find a cool position. I want to show this lady, of course. This is the Princess collection by Prima. A couple of years old, that collection. So there you go. So there's a nice base for your decoration, and now you can do the flowers sort of around it. And as I said, I like to do my bulky stuff on top. So there you go. Now here is of course still that hole and sort of an opening here, so I like to cover that up. Now you can use blings, flat back pearls, but you can also use another flower or even more layers of flowers. Personally, this time I am going to do this little tea rose, and it comes on this metal stem, so I'm going to cut that off first. Now this is a very, very tiny rose, so the chance that I would burn my fingers if I just take it like this, put the glue on and then press it down, I don't like to burn my fingers, so I am going to use some pliers to hold this. And of course I am speaking from experience, guys. I have burned myself several times. So I came up with all of these tricks and tips for you. So just hold it like this, and now I cannot burn my fingers anymore. So there you go, so there is the little rose. Now, could you have done this differently without the hot glue? Yes, I suppose you could have used some mixed media paste or maybe some glue dots for the little tea rose. I like the hot glue because it dries so very fast and it's very, very sturdy. Nothing will fall off ever. Now, am I done here on top? I'm not sure yet, maybe. So I'm going to leave it for now. Maybe I will get back to it after I'm done with the rest, because that is part of the creative process for me. Just go back to it once in a while and check if I am still satisfied. Now, I also have some more chipboard pieces here. I was thinking to put them on the sides of the chest or the box. Now, as you can see, this one here, it will peek out. So that doesn't have to be a problem. For if I glue it down here on the lower half of the box, I can still open the box. Now, what you will have to take care of, well, you don't have to do anything, but if you are like me, because you will see the back of the chipboard piece here, and it is white, and I don't like that. I don't like it to be white. So what I've done when prepping for this project, I have colored it. So I used some Tim Holtz Distress ink. This is Tattered Rose, to cover up most of the piece. So when it sticks out, you will not see the white. And the same goes for the other chipboard piece, which will also stick out a bit. And I have colored the top half of that as well. So that is a tip for you as well. Now these are stickers, of course, again, but this time I will just add some wet glue here and leave the tape backing or the sticker backing, leave it on. Because I don't want this to be sticky, of course, because it will stick out. So as I said, I'm going to use some wet glue because I am not going to use the sticker part. So what I'm going to do is check how much it will actually stick out. So here you can see it's only the top part, which means that I can go at least until here with my wet glue. So I will eyeball that, but it's how I do it. Now I am going to open the box and stick it on. And now suddenly I'm thinking, am I going to center this, or am I going to put it off center and add a flower? I think the last. So I'm not going to center it, but glue it down a bit toward the back edge of the box. So this is a spontaneous idea, guys, which is how these things work. So I'm pressing it down firmly, giving the glue a chance to take. And now you can see it is sticking out, but there is no white because I used the Tattered Rose ink there as well. So it's those details, guys, that make or break your project. So now to pick a flower. Now I could add a little flower here. Now I'm hesitating because suddenly I find this a bit empty. But I don't want to be too symmetrical with the same flower, or so maybe I'll get back to that later. Let's think about it. Let's do the other side. So that is the hot air balloon, again inked up, at least for the part that will stick out. And then I will add it to the box like this. So there you go, so the box still closes. When it's sticking out like this, it's a bit weird. So I may have to add some flowers here to break up this visual. So now my project is going really off track into the unknown, but that is how it is when you're creative. So, am I going to add a flower? Yes or no? I like the yellow here. Alright, so we have this side here, which I like. We have this side here, which I'm not yet truly satisfied about because of this place here. And we have to do something about this weird stuff here that I just now discovered. And we have the front and the back. So let's think about that. What are we going to do here? And what I did with the paper, the lady here, her feet and the rest of her dress are here. So I made sure that the pattern here is continuing, just mentioning that. So what are we going to do? Are we going to use these flowers, or do I need a larger flower here? Now what I'm thinking here, to make you part of my thinking process, On the one hand, there is the pattern in the paper here, whereas the rest doesn't have any pattern. So on the one hand, I'm thinking, let's do something diagonally opposite here. So if I have a pattern here, let's do some flowers here. On the other hand, there are some flowers here that you can still see. So that would suggest doing something here. So what I could do here is a stamp or maybe another piece of chipboard. Let's look at some chipboard. Now again, the sticker, I'm going to add the double-sided tape again. Now with these kinds of flowery ornaments, you have to decide which one will be on top. So I'm just going to play around with that a bit. So the tricky thing now, I have decided that this flower will go on the bottom. So I have to keep it in place because it will have to be placed exactly right, like that. Now I have to lift it up a bit and press it down. So I have to do it again. So place the blue flower here, then layer the other one between them. Find the place that I wanted. Okay, so now I'm satisfied with the placement and I'm doing it again. So removing the blue flower, keeping the other one in place, lifting it a bit and leaving a drop of hot glue. Carefully, carefully, carefully. And now I can add hot glue to the blue one here, the larger one. That is how you layer things. See, so the flowers are exactly where I want it to be. So I started off with the bottom layer. Keep in mind who this is going to. Not everyone likes this to be this lush. So it may be a bit busy for your taste, so keep in mind. But I think the person who will get this will like this. Now I will add some glitter glue to this later on, but I always do that last because it will need about 2 hours to dry. So I'm going to leave that for now, but I will add it. And the question is, because now we have quite the busy box, what to do about the back. As I mentioned, your box has to open like this, and there should not be any hindrance here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the corners here, and then the center, I think, and then maybe 2 more here. So what I ended up doing is actually blue, green, etc. And it's a subtle difference, but I think it works with all of the colors in this paper. So it's not a lot, but as I said, the box has to be able to be opened. Which leaves us with this corner here. And I'm thinking maybe I'm going to add some of the pearls here, so there is a bit of symmetry then. Or maybe just some blings like this one, some crystals here maybe. So I decided to add a green pearl here, but larger than the ones here. And then I added a crystal bling, so to match this one, but smaller than this one. And I also like the difference in size here, so it's a bit asymmetrical. So this is how I pull everything together. So there's the pearl that plays with this pearl pattern here. Also the green comes back here, and then the crystal comes back here, and then the asymmetry is pleasing to the eye, at least to my brain. So now I am satisfied with this whole thing here. So I wasn't satisfied until I had added something here. So that is fixed. This I think is okay for now, except I'm going to add glitter glue here. This I feel is fine, doesn't need anything. The top we're going to work on to add something here, and then the back I'm still in doubt because we know we can't decorate very much here, but I still think it's a bit empty. So I'm still thinking about it, but I can't really stamp anymore unless I remove the hinges again, which is a drag. Okay, so I made up my mind. I'm going to add some flowers, starting with this one here. And I'm doing the placement trick again. So holding it in place with one hand and gluing it down with the other. So what I did here is attach the rose without spilling the hot glue again, so keeping it clean here. Now this turned out almost like I wanted, because I wanted to cover up this chipboard a bit. So I think I'm going to add another small tea rose. So now you can see that the chipboard piece here is a bit covered up with 3 roses. And this is the entire lid. And then we're moving on to the front and the 2 sides. And then the modest back. I'm still thinking about using a text die, sentiment die, to maybe do a sentiment here. Alright, so I made up my mind. I chose a text die by Crealis, and it says for jou, for you. So I already die cut that. And because the paper that I chose is from the same collection, so it has these pale colors, it's sort of a pale green, I thought I'd ink around the edges a little bit so that you could actually see it, but it's sort of a subtle effect what I'm going for. And I'm using wet glue, and I bought this special empty glue bottle with a very fine tip for this fine work that I'm going to do. So there you go, it's a very subtle effect, but I like it. So it's not too much in your face, but it's still very readable and very visible. Alright guys, and this was the end product. I hope you enjoyed watching me doing my process of decorating this box. I haven't shown you that before. I have shown you the technique of matting such a box, so check out the video in the description that I mentioned before. It's a free video tutorial on the technique. And so this time I thought I'd show you my creative thinking, what is going on in my mind sort of while decorating this box. What are the errors I make, where do I stray from my plans, and how do I fix those things. And again, one of the tips is keep in mind the person that you are gifting this to while decorating. Not everything that you like is something that they like, so think about that. And I decided to fill this one up with tea because my friend, who will get this as a surprise for her new job, she loves tea, so I fill it up with several bags, several different tastes of tea, flavors I mean. So yeah, so that is an idea for you, but you can use this box also for sweets or for a gift card or all of the above perhaps. And then close it up, wrap it up in some nice gift paper and gift it, so make them happy with their gift. So thank you for watching guys. Let me know what you think in the description. Press the thumbs up if you like this video. Subscribe to my channel guys, and press the notifications if you want to be notified every time I upload something cute. So thanks guys, see you next week. Bye bye.